We're living in this golden age of forensic science, right? Think DNA, digital forensics, all this incredible tech. Our ability to analyze evidence is just off the charts. But, and this is a big but, it's created this really weird paradox, and that's exactly what we're going to dig into today.
So here's the big question, right? If our forensic tech is better than ever, why are so many serious crimes going unsolved? I mean, the science has just exploded, but crime clearance rates, that's basically the percentage of crimes police actually solve, they're just not keeping up. In fact, in a lot of cities, they're getting worse. So to figure out what's going on, we've got to look at what's happening on the streets.
Okay, let's take a look at a real-world example. Wilmington, Delaware. What's so wild about this chart are those 3 lines. See the bottom one? That's the national violent crime rate. It's been going down pretty steadily. The one in the middle, that's for the whole state of Delaware. A little higher, but it's following the same basic downward trend. But that line at the top? Whoa, that's Wilmington. It's way higher and it's all over the place. And it's in cities just like this one, where the pressure to solve crimes is through the roof, and where you see a lot of the big debates about policing happening right now.
And this right here, this really puts a spotlight on the problem. Between 2010 and 2015, the Wilmington PD, and get this, they have a fully staffed, super sophisticated forensic unit, they only solved 1/3 of their murders. 1/3. And burglaries, even worse, just 9%. That's way below the national average. Now, if you ask the officers why, they'll often say, well, the community just doesn't get involved. But is that really the whole story? I don't think so. To get to the bottom of it, we have to talk about this major policing strategy that really took over back in the 90s. And it's a strategy that kind of turned policing into a very particular kind of game. It's called the broken windows theory. You've probably heard of it. It got super popular in the 90s. The basic idea is pretty simple. If police crack down on all the little signs of disorder, graffiti, loitering, stuff like that, it sends a message that someone is in charge. And that, in theory, stops the bigger, more serious crimes from happening. It's a really influential idea for sure. But let's see what it actually looks like on the ground.
And wow, the data from Wilmington tells a story. While all those murders and burglaries were piling up unsolved, the police were, well, they were busy with other stuff. Look at this. The top 3 reasons for an arrest were resisting arrest, loitering, and something called offensive touching. So the whole focus shifts, right? It goes from solving these really serious crimes to just aggressively enforcing minor stuff. And when that happens, people in the community start to feel less like partners and a lot more like targets.
And this quote really just nails it. It's from one of the authors of our source material, who is actually on the ground in Wilmington, and it perfectly sums up that game I mentioned. The goal became all about the numbers, making lockups, seizing guns and drugs. That's how you win. Actually solving a complex murder case? Or building trust with the community? That's not even on the scorecard. And that mindset, you can see how it puts officers in direct conflict with the very people they're supposed to be protecting. And this isn't just theory, okay? It has real, sometimes devastating consequences for people. Check this out. A Department of Justice report on Ferguson, Missouri found this story. A guy was just sitting in his parked car. He got arrested for 8 different violations, including not wearing a seatbelt, in a parked car. And because of those charges, he lost his job as a federal contractor. His life was turned upside down. So yeah, this stuff can absolutely shatter lives and just obliterate any hope of building trust between the police and the community. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, the source material we're looking at argues for a pretty radical shift in the whole point of policing. It's about moving away from just racking up arrests and toward building something called collective efficacy. So what is collective efficacy? It sounds kind of academic, but it's really just a way to measure a neighborhood's social health. It's all about how much neighbors trust each other and believe that people will step up and help out for the common good. And here's the kicker. Study after study shows that in neighborhoods with high collective efficacy, violent crime is low, even in places with a lot of disadvantages. So the thinking goes, instead of policing broken windows, maybe police should be focused on building this social cohesion. That, the argument goes, should be the new goal.
So how do you even do that? How can police help build this stuff? Well, this framework here lays it out. It basically maps neighborhoods on 2 scales, how much crime there is and how much community trust there is. And when you do that, you get 4 different types of neighborhoods, and each one needs a totally different approach from the police.
So this creates a whole new playbook, one that isn't one size fits all. In what they call strong neighborhoods, where trust is high and crime is low, the police just need to support what the community is already doing. Simple. In vulnerable neighborhoods, maybe they help organize an after-school program, something to build community bonds that aren't about crime. Now, in chaotic neighborhoods, the first job is just to make the area safe, so people actually feel comfortable enough to come out and connect with each other. And finally, in responsive neighborhoods, police need to team up with other city services for a much bigger, system-wide plan. The point is to ditch the old broken windows strategy and tailor the approach, with the ultimate goal of helping every neighborhood become strong.
But, fixing relationships on the street? That's only half the story. Because even when you get good forensic evidence from a crime scene, it then has to enter a totally different world, a whole different game, with its own unique set of rules, the courtroom.
And this table just lays out the culture clash perfectly. Think about it. Science is all about being systematic, unbiased. Its goal is to serve the truth, period. But the law? It's adversarial by its very nature. The lawyer's job is to serve their client's interest. The goal isn't some lofty search for knowledge, it's to win the case. You can see how that creates a massive tension for any scientist who has to get up on that witness stand.
And this clash really comes to a head in how courts decide if scientific evidence is even allowed. For the longest time, the rule was something called the Fry standard. Basically, is this science generally accepted by other scientists in the field? But now there's a more modern standard, Daubert, which basically makes the judge a gatekeeper. They have to decide if the evidence is not only accepted, but also if it's reliable and actually relevant to the case at hand.
And what's crazy is that it completely depends on where you are. This map shows that some states still use Fry, while most have moved to Daubert. This kind of patchwork of rules just adds another layer of complexity, another hurdle that makes it even tougher to use good forensic science to actually solve a crime and get a conviction.
So after all that, where does this leave us? We've seen the problems on the street, and we've seen the challenges in the courtroom. Let's tie it all together and look at what the real path forward might be.
Take a look at this number, 86%. What does that mean? Well, it comes from a study of the LAPD. It's the percentage of cases they solved when a victim or a witness could actually name a suspect. For all the other cases, where there was no named suspect, the clearance rate plummeted to just 12%. This one stat just screams that technology, by itself, is not the answer. And that's really the heart of the matter, isn't it? The way to solve more crimes isn't just about getting better microscopes or having stricter rules in the courtroom. It's about trust. It's about relationships. Because without people in the community willing to cooperate, even the most advanced forensic science in the world is basically useless. The real solution is fixing those broken relationships between police and the communities they're supposed to serve.
So we'll leave you with this question. The current game of policing, the one that's so focused on arrests and stats, it just isn't working to solve our most serious crimes. So what if the greatest good of policing wasn't about winning that game, but about changing the game entirely? What if it was about focusing on building strong, trusting communities that in the end don't need to be policed so aggressively in the first place?